Today's Claire Recreates is an oldie but a goodie. It's Little Debbie oatmeal cream pies. Seeing it makes me feel like I'm in like a different time period, like an earlier bygone era. There's a lot of nostalgia for the way the box looks. It's like red, white, and blue. You got Little Debbie right here. But I remember thinking they were good. Seems like Americana, you know? These to me look so much more appealing than pretty much anything I take out of a package on this show at all. It looks like a cookie, which makes me really happy. It has these like cracks in it. It's super uniform. It's really round. It makes me want to eat it. It looks really good. This channels to me more of like a molasses cookie because there's no visible oats. Unlike an oatmeal, like an oat cookie that you would make at home, which just has oats in it, like there's no visible oats at all. There's not an oat in sight. The lightness and the softness are remarkable. Just this, the weight of the cookie is starting to kind of break it apart. That's how soft it is. Picture in the box also interestingly has the filling scalloped like in petals, but here you can see like the cookies have sealed, like you're not really getting a lot of the filling peeking out. Cookie diameter, 7 to 7.5 centimeters. Filling thickness, 0.5 centimeters. So the overall thickness is just about 1.5 centimeters. Total weight is 39 grams. A single cookie weighs 17 grams. 1734 means well, it's only 5 grams of filling. You know, what I kind of smell is sort of brown sugar. I'm not getting oats. Okay, so it's really sweet. It's really, really sweet. The cookie has a real chew and then a resistance, and that's where I get the oat. That's where I feel like I'm eating ground up oats in a good way. I definitely get kind of like molasses. It doesn't have a strong flavor of warm spice. What I really taste, because I looked at the ingredients already, so I know what it is. It really tastes like the raisin paste, which is so interesting. I would never be able to identify the flavor if I didn't know that that's what's in it, but tasting it, that's immediately what I get. It tastes like raisins. The ingredients in Little Debbie oatmeal cream pies are corn syrup, number 1, enriched bleached flour, parentheses, wheat flour, barley malt, niacin, reduced iron, thiamine, mononitrate, brackets vitamin B1, riboflavin, brackets vitamin B2, folic acid, close parentheses, palm and soybean oils with TBHQ and citric acid to protect flavor, whole grain rolled oats, molasses, raisin paste, sugar, water, dextrose. Contains 2% or less of each of the following: leavening, parentheses, baking soda, ammonium bicarbonate, sodium aluminum phosphate, close parentheses, whey, salt, soy lecithin, cornstarch, natural and artificial flavors, mono and diglycerides, polysorbate 60, sorbitan, monostearate, dried eggs, modified cornstarch, sorbic acid to preserve freshness, soy flour, the long list of 2% or less, dried egg whites, annatto extract, beta carotene, caramel color, chocolate, cocoa butter, citric acid, cocoa processed with alkali, high fructose corn syrup, modified wheat starch, non-fat dry milk, palm and palm kernel oil, pectin, polysorbate 80, propylene glycol, monostearate, red 40 lake, rice flour, sodium citrate, sodium stearoyl, lactylate, soybean oil, titanium dioxide, parentheses, color, and turmeric extract. Such a long ingredient list. I'm actually pretty excited. I love oatmeal cookies, love. And I'm excited to make them in this style, which is like an extremely soft, slightly chewy cookie. And I'm excited to take some inspiration from the ingredient list. Like they mentioned, like there's a little bit of cocoa in there, which I think is super interesting. The raisin paste I think is really interesting and might be like the secret flavor in there. I would like to achieve this kind of like cracked, fissured look, but if I don't, I'm not gonna sweat it too hard, I think. My game plan is start with the cookie, hopefully nail it, make the cream, hopefully nail it, put them together. 3 steps. I'm basically making what I think will be a good oatmeal cookie, but I'm making some changes. I'm gonna grind the oats and flour so that there's basically no more perceivable bits of oat because there aren't any in the cookie. I am also going to take a portion of the oats that I'm adding and I'm gonna cook them. And I'm gonna add some raisins and I'm gonna cook it down and puree it. What I'm doing is I'm kind of like fixing water into the recipe without having to just add it to the batter and like thin it out. And I think that's going to contribute to softness. I know I'm adding molasses because it's in the ingredient list and I can tell from the color that it's just like I need it for color. But the molasses is going to serve a really important purpose. It is going to prevent that other brown sugar in the cookie from like recrystallizing and making the cookie hard. So it's going to keep it really soft. And I don't think I'm going to add any warm spice, which I was initially thinking that I would. It doesn't really have that flavor. It just kind of has the flavor as like molasses and oat and weirdly raisin. I think I have some in here. Aha! Golden raisins. Immediately when I thought about the Little Debbie oatmeal cream pies, I was like, oh, corn syrup. But molasses has the same purpose. Molasses is an invert sugar, as is corn syrup. So I don't think I need to add cornstarch because I'm using molasses. The first thing I want to do is get my oats cooking. I'm gonna also add a 1/4 cup of golden raisins. And the raisins are definitely adding sweetness. And I do think we'll also make them softer. The raisin pulp is going to help to inhibit gluten formation a little bit. I'm adding that flour, and I think we'll also make them, you know how like the cookies sort of like fall apart as you start to bend them? I think that's what's gonna happen. So I'm gonna add a 1/2 cup of milk. Just get this cooking. If it looks like it's getting too dry, I'll add more water. I'm just gonna let that come up to a gentle simmer. So now I'm gonna put together my mix of dry ingredients in my food processor. A cup of oats, a cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda. Molasses is very acidic, and baking soda is gonna react with that acid. And it also is gonna be responsible for the cookie spreading. And I want these cookies to spread a lot. They're gonna get really thin. 1/2 teaspoon each kosher salt and baking powder to aerate the cookie itself and like give a little bit of a crumb, because again, these are so incredibly light. And then I'm gonna add not a lot of cocoa. I don't want it to be a discernible flavor. Maybe seriously just a teaspoon. Cocoa is a very strong flavor. And I'm gonna add a little turmeric because I want that yellowish color in there. Maybe a 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric. So I'm gonna process this until the oats basically disappear. This is simmering. I'm gonna add a little water to this. I'm wondering now if, because I already have the food processor out, maybe I can just make the entire thing in the food processor. Wouldn't that be easy? I'm just feeling it, rubbing it between my fingers to see the size of the oat pieces. I think it could be a little finer. And I'm gonna grab a bowl to transfer this into. I am anticipating that this is going to be a very soft dough. I'm going to leave the oats, they're not as fine as the flour. I'm going to leave some really fine pieces so I get a little bit of texture in the final cookie. So my dry mix is done. I get it into this bowl. It smells like breakfast because it smells like the oatmeal that's cooking. Now I need oil and I need molasses. I'm going to show you a trick. So I need a 1/4 cup of oil. I'm going to pour the 1/4 cup of oil into one of my little measuring cups. Then I'm gonna pour it into this other measuring cup. And now I have a measuring cup that's really well greased, and I'm gonna measure my molasses into this one. Because molasses is like so sticky, it is basically sugar. And it's a nightmare to like scrape out of containers. So I'm gonna measure 2 tablespoons molasses. And when you oil it, it just slips right out. I do want to check on my cooking oats. See the pooling milk/water. I'm gonna cook until that's gone. This is just like another minute on the stove at a slightly higher temp. Now I have this sort of like, you know, porridge, thick porridge, not a lot of extra liquid. I guess what I really want to do is cool this down quickly. I'm like the queen of the ice bath. I'm going to make a quick ice bath and get this cold, and then I can go right into assembling the batter. It doesn't have to be cold, although it is sort of cold. My cooled oat mixture is going to go in. Definitely going to save this saucepan in case I need to do this whole thing over. So I'm gonna process this until I have something smooth, and I don't mind some texture from the oats as long as it's like a similar fineness to the dry mix that I ground, but I do want the raisins to be completely pureed. Here's the texture. It's still relatively coarse, but from what I can tell, just looking at it, it's oatmeal texture, not really, I don't see a lot of like discrete pieces of raisin. Now I'm gonna add my butter. This is 8 tablespoons. I'm doing a mixture of butter and oil. Oil is liquid at room temp, so at room temp the cookies will be, I think in my mind, softer. I'm gonna add my brown sugar, a 1 cup packed, light brown. One large egg. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And as I'm processing that, I'm gonna stream in my oil. I'm doing it this way because with the egg in there, I'm hoping that the oil will emulsify into the mixture and won't make it more liquid, that by emulsifying it'll actually thicken it. I'm gonna scrape down the sides, then I'm gonna add the molasses. And because I greased it, it should fall right out. Same thing with honey, any really sticky ingredient. Corn syrup, definitely. Process that. So now I'm gonna add my dry ingredients. And hopefully I form something like a dough that I could easily portion and that's not too liquid. I'm gonna pulse this in. It's super liquid. I'm gonna add more flour. Oh my God, it's so liquid. I'm gonna keep adding more flour until I get something dough-like. Oats don't have gluten, like you don't get the same thickening, and they have their own starches that thicken, but it's not going to act the way flour is going to in a recipe. And then I'll keep that nearby in case I wanna add more. All right, so it already seems more dough-like. Still really soft. I'm gonna add another half cup. I don't need it to be firm enough for me to like roll it in my hands, but I do need it to be firm enough that if I scoop it, that it's gonna hold its shape. The way it was like balling up, that's a good sign. Let's take a look. Okay, it's a good idea to bake one as a test. I'm gonna preheat my oven. It has like a peanut butter consistency. It's holding its shape well enough. The oven's at 350. I was baking earlier and I did have something spill on the bottom, so it is a little smoky. But I think it's only gonna help. So I'm gonna put the cookies in. I don't anticipate they're gonna bake long. I'm gonna check them like at 8 minutes. Okay. So I've kind of been watching them because the oven light is on. They're puffy, which I don't like. Although they do have cracks on the top, that I do like. I'm hoping I can deflate them. Maybe I can give it a nice like hard tap on the countertop and knock some of that air out. Oh God, this spoke. Sorry. The color is very light, but they're nice and crackly on the top. Like that, I'm pleased with. Like, just judging on the surface, it's pretty close. The color is obviously not dark enough. Let's see how they cool. Part of me is just sort of like, can I just flatten it? But then it's gonna be kind of dense. And then it's gonna be too dense, so that's not really a good solution.
What if you use the sill pad instead of the...
If I use the sill pad, they'll spread more. Interesting, Cal. Good suggestion. If I added more molasses and more baking soda to increase spread, that might help. So just as a side-by-side, the size coincidentally is very similar, but of course my cookie is like twice as tall, if not taller. So obviously it's too much batter. I need to make them smaller and I need to do something that's really gonna increase spread and I need to make them darker. Okay, so see how the inside is cakey? It's just too cakey. One thing I keep thinking of is my own recipe and dessert person, which is a molasses cookie.
I was like, why don't you just make those and call it a day?
I'm thinking about it. So for the next test round, I'm gonna take the existing batter, I'm gonna add 2 more tablespoons of molasses, doubling the total quantity. I'm gonna add more cocoa, a little more salt for flavor, and importantly, another half teaspoon of baking soda to try to increase spread of the cookies. This says soda, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna add 2 more tablespoons of butter. This is a nice thing about doing this in a food processor is like you can very quickly and thoroughly mix in more ingredients. Why is it being so weird? Did this thing come on? Is it because it's so thick? Wow, look at how much it thickened up. You guys, what's wrong? I don't want to burn out the motor. It's going so slow, so weird. It's going so slow it's not even incorporating the butter. All right, I'm gonna give it a good stir. It has really set up, which I'm happy to see. And you know, the amount that it's set up makes me think that I don't actually need as much flour as I have in here. That if I just waited for it and kind of rested it, that it wouldn't be so cakey. This is so weird.
Is it on like low voltage?
How do I know? Just plugged in. My thought is that the blade isn't really fully on there, but I checked it. It seems like it is. All right, this maybe has incorporated well enough to see. Just looking for any butter. All right, I'll have to troubleshoot. All right, so it did incorporate the butter. Let me get my sill pad out. Smaller scoop. I don't know how much they're really gonna darken in the oven because they're not in there that long. The color is better. I'm wondering if I need even more molasses. Again, the batter really did set up so much from just sitting. So good thing to note. Next time, I am sort of thinking that the flour is too high. I'm gonna set it for 7 minutes because I'm making them smaller. 7 minutes, I'm gonna pull them out. Okay, so importantly, I lost the cracking actually. They're not really deflating. They definitely did spread more. So comparing a cookie from the previous round, they're about the same size, a little smaller, but I used a smaller scoop. But they're still pretty puffy. The color's a little bit deeper, but it's not quite the darkness that I want. So I still think actually more molasses. They feel super soft, which is good. They're a lot more sad looking than these. I think I might want to increase the turmeric to give it a little more of a yellow. These I think didn't crack because they spread really rapidly at the beginning before the top had a chance to set. So what that tells me is maybe I want a cookie that spreads more on its own and I don't use a silpat. Back to parchment. I am encouraged by the second test. I also think that they want a little bit of warm spice. The original cookie doesn't have it, but I'm trying to make my version better, so I might add a little cinnamon and maybe a tiny bit of clove for spiciness. I have my cooked oat raisin mixture. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to grind the ingredients first. All right, hold on, I screwed up. Went out of order. I didn't mean to start with the wet. I meant to start with the dry. For exactly this reason, which is now I have to rinse and dry this thing off. I meant to grind the dry ingredients first. Also, hey, the food processor works now that I cleaned it. When I took the food processor apart, the blade was like super gummed up with batter, like up in the part that connects to the base. And it was like, couldn't spin. So I cleaned it, but now it's working. So I'm gonna start with my dry ingredients. I have my oats and my flour. This is a reduced amount of flour compared to version 1, adding the cocoa, which I increased to a tablespoon, the salt, which I increased, the baking soda, which I increased, but I'm omitting the powder. And then my spices. So I have increased amount of turmeric, and now I'm using a little cinnamon and a pinch of clove. It's hard to have molasses and oats without like a little cinnamon. Smells good, it smells spicy. Right now, back to that oat mixture, my oat and raisin. Now I'm gonna add the butter. This new quantity is 10 tablespoons. I think I cut it up into pieces last time.
You did.
I'm too tired. All right, I'm so impatient. I'm just gonna add the sugar. Oh, I forgot the thing was on. Oh, crack the egg in. I'm gonna stream in the oil and the vanilla, molasses, dry ingredients, plus the cocoa. I'm just gonna pulse this in. So I'm just gonna let this rest. This has set up, I don't know, do we wait like 10 minutes or so maybe? It has thickened. It really does just look like natural peanut butter. They spread to about the right size, but they were too tall, so I know I need less batter overall, given that they like thin out to the dimensions that I want. So I'm gonna do like 3/4 of a scoop, but then want it to be nice and rounded, so I'll just kind of like smooth it out. I like the color so far. Into the oven, I'm gonna bake them for, I'm gonna check them after 6 minutes, because if they flatten out quite a bit, they'll bake even faster. Hopefully they flatten out. Oh God, hold on. That's 6 minutes. They kind of look the same as they did before. They're a little puffy. They're not cracked. Let's take a closer look. Hopefully they settle down quite a bit. They're actually already losing volume, which is good. See how much they flattened already? What I'm missing are the cracks. I have like sort of like holes rather than cracks. The diameter is basically exactly what I need it to be, which is between 7 and 7.5 centimeters. So my feeling at the moment is like, if the flavor is there and the texture is there, the color is there, how much do I really care about them not being cracked on the surface? Not that much.
Go with a toothpick and just draw a little crack.
Not doing that. I'm not doing that. Oh my God, they're so soft. I feel confident regarding flavor. And the color is nice. The color is a little bit deeper, I think, than batch number 2. The softness seems really good. They're so soft that even after they come off and they're starting to set, I can still kind of move them around. They're still cooling and setting, but at the moment they feel that level of softness where the cookies are, where like if you hold them in your hand, they would like droop. Let's do a side by side. I do think that the original are like a little more pleasing just in look based on the cracks. The color is pretty close. There's a little bit of a sheen to the original that I think the latest batch has that the second batch doesn't have. They did get really thin. I'm pretty much right at that 0.5 centimeter that I was going for. Sorry, I just started eating it. These are good. Now I want to bake a bunch of cookies. My goal is to have 24 really nice circular cookies so I can make 12 sandwiches.
Are you gonna whack them or does it need it?
I don't think it needs it. Like, they're already settling down. I mean, give it a little help. This tool works so well for making nice round cookies. Cookies are baked. What I like: the color, the taste, the texture. I like that they're all very uniform, and that little rounding motion with the cutter was super effective. They're, I think, going to make such nice looking sandwich cookies when I add the filling. So we're moving on to the filling. I'm going to grab my ingredients. I can put these off to the side. I know that the filling, which they call cream, is marshmallow, but really it's more similar to a marshmallow fluff or like a marshmallow spread than a fluffy marshmallow that you could cut like into a square. So to make a marshmallow fluff, I pulled my ingredients. I have some salt, some sugar, water, a little bit of egg white. Then I have corn syrup. I had to have corn syrup at some point. A little cream of tartar, a very small amount of gelatin, a 1/4 teaspoon. And I just have some vanilla. By the way, this is a recipe that I am using based on one that I found on the King Arthur website for a like marshmallow fluff spread recipe that people said was really good. The first thing I want to do is soften the gelatin. You always want to use cold water when you're softening gelatin, so I'm just going to let that hang out there, and it's going to soften, and that's going to allow it to melt into my marshmallow mixture. Then I'm going to combine my sugar, my water, and my corn syrup in a saucepan. And I greased this container to help the corn syrup release and come out, which it's doing very easily. Now into my bowl, I'm going to put my egg whites, my cream of tartar. It's going to help us stabilize everything, and a pinch of salt. I need to be cooking that sugar corn syrup mixture at the same time I'm whipping my egg whites. And so I can't, it's going to be too hard to like look back and forth from over here. So I'm going to move over here. I'm going to get this going over medium-high heat. I don't want to stir it. I don't want to crystallize any of the sugar. I want it to just dissolve and melt and come to a boil. Now the corn syrup in there is going to like go a very long way toward preventing crystallization. This is at a boil. And as soon as this reaches the 220s, I'm going to start to whip my egg whites. So this is giving me 222. So I'm going to start whipping. So once the egg whites are kind of at soft peaks, which they are somewhere close to soft peaks at least, I can just kind of leave them alone for a second. 240. Remove that from the heat. I'm going to quickly scrape in that softened gelatin. You can see how it's become solid. A quick stir in, that is going to melt the gelatin. Then I'm going to stream this mixture into my egg whites. I hope I don't regret stopping it, but I do want to just scrape in the last amount. This is going to take several minutes, but I want to whip it until it's nice and like thick and fluffy and marshmallow fluffy. I'm whipping this on high. It's been a few minutes, and the mixture is getting really thick and fluffy. The bowl's a little warm, so I want to just keep going. I'm going to add my vanilla now. So this will be nice to have like real vanilla. So I'm just gonna continue to beat this until it's like really thick and fluffy, but still has a little bit of elasticity to it. And it's gonna be mostly cooled to room temp, so another maybe minute or two. Okay, this is basically done.
How will you know the right amount?
How am I gonna know the right amount? I'm gonna eyeball it. I feel really good about that. I'll kind of eyeball what I think seems right, the thickness of filling that I want. I guess I should do one in the middle, right? I think if I do 6, I can do 1 there. So I would say that these are kind of marble-sized dollops, very imprecise. Put one on top. So I want to grab one that seems similar in size. They are sort of slightly different. I feel like it looks really good, right? Not too thick. You can see the filling kind of peeking out. It's like the picture. The petals are sort of disappearing as the marshmallow is sort of like being squeezed out, but I think that's okay. Looks right to me. I'm gonna keep going. I think just being mindful that I'm not increasing the amount of the filling is helping me a lot. And the filling has already started to set up a little bit where it's not giving like long pulls. And so I think the texture is gonna be kind of just right. I'm done. When I hold one and I balance it on my finger, I can feel it slumping over my finger. It's just not to the extent of the Little Debbie. Let's compare side by side. Right off the bat, I know that mine are not as soft. The colors are very similar. The color on mine is even maybe a little bit darker, and the Little Debbie a little bit more of that yellow. I'm really glad I put the turmeric in. I think it kind of warmed it up and made it a little more golden. Size-wise, I think mine, it's definitely taller. I think sometimes like you don't think things are gonna add up as much as they do, but they definitely did. So mine's a little bit taller, but it does have that separation between the cookies where you can see the filling peeking out, and I think that looks pretty darn good. I also like that on mine, you can actually see little bits of the oat, which I think is really nice. Really similar size, so I feel like I nailed that. 43, it's so close. Not bad. I do think that it would be better if the marshmallow set for a little bit longer, but let's see what kind of texture I get. Similar color, very, very white. Definitely not as aerated and fluffy, but like, doesn't it look so appealing and delicious? Okay, I'm gonna try it. Very soft. Mostly what I get is molasses and then the texture of those oats. The marshmallow helps to keep everything together, gives you some vanilla flavor, so much less sweet. I'm happy with the warm spice amount. I feel like it just makes the cookie taste like what you think it should be. So soft. This is what I think it looks like that tastes like. This is the thanks. This is a Little Debbie. The only thing I wish is that mine had cracks on the surface. That's the Little Debbie.
Oh, yeah, sorry, somewhere. The Little Debbie one's delicious. It's just a little too sweet. Could be chewier.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. Crispy. Yeah, because you're making like a proper cookie. First thing is so many more spices.
Well, yeah. The Little Debbie doesn't actually have any spices in it.
Yeah, I'll make a little room to get to the center here.
You could just break it open and bite.
I could. Yours is so much better, less sweet, and all the spices.
I was gonna say.
Really?
We only need that soundbite. But
okay,
thanks.
Great.
But I'm really happy. I think what I really like about this one actually is like I didn't have to do anything weird. I didn't have to like get a drill out or like cut up cardboard. I love it because what I really got to focus on was like fine-tuning flavor and texture. And I kind of gotta hand it to Little Debbie. They make a great treat. I just prefer mine. If you have ideas of things you want us to make, put it in the comments below and we're gonna bring you more episodes. Thank you so much for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe.